So President Pinnow, I'd just like to first thank you for giving us this opportunity to sit down with us and take time out of your busy schedule here to have a conversation. Now, I will start off by saying that some of the questions I was going to ask might be tough, but
Sure.
I'm just doing my job as a journalist and to what I think that the people of the Upper Peninsula would want to know the answers to these questions. So the first thing I'll ask you is, you were brought on as the president of Finlandia just last May. When you were brought on here, were you aware of the financial and enrollment issues the university was facing?
Well, every small college has financial and enrollment issues. That's true of every small private college and many non-small private colleges. So did I know there were challenges? Certainly, yes. But in the course of the first few months, we started uncovering things that made it much more serious.
And so you just said, those first few months that more financial issues came to light. How long has the unbearable debt load, as was the word used in the press release at Finlandia Lease, how long has that really been evident here at the college?
A significant amount of time, a very long time.
So is that prior to your
absolutely,
tenure?
Absolutely.
And any time frame as far as years, does this go back 10, 20, 30 years?
More than a decade.
More than a decade?
Mm-hmm.
What factors contributed to that debt? What got us to the place where we're at now?
Like many small colleges that have enrollment challenges, as things become more expensive, right? We've all felt inflation over the last year. As those things happen, as the number of students that are available, traditional age students, declines, we call that the demographic cliff in my business. As that declines nationally, there's fewer people available to recruit to go to a university like this. And then the third part is in our culture in the last decade or so, fewer people are interested in going to college, particularly a group that this institution serves, which is Pell Grant recipients. We're about 50% of our students are Pell Grant recipients. And in the state of Michigan, over the last 10 years, the number of Pell Grant recipients who choose to go on to college has dropped almost in half. So when you have those things that happen and you have increasing expenses, then you have to find the money to keep going somewhere, and many times that involves increasing your debt load.
Yeah, so obviously ceasing operations at the university was not the first kind of solution brought to the table here. When was that kind of brought up originally by the Board of Trustees? When was the first indication of we might have to shut down operations originally brought up?
That's one I really can't answer for you. That you'd have to ask the board. I'm not in all their meetings, so it's you'd have to ask them that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the statement released by Finlandia, it said, quote, Herculean efforts were made to amend the financial and enrollment struggles. Can you explain some of those efforts that were made before this decision was made?
Sure. On the financial side, we talked to any number of groups about debt consolidation and debt forgiveness and those sorts of things. We looked at the enrollment side as well. We were working with a group to try and create some brand new programs that would have hopefully attracted some new students. We were working with another institution in Michigan to try and create some sort of consortial arrangement where together we could create a teacher education program, or at least the beginnings of it here. So we were trying to hit the problem from both sides. From the side of trying to increase enrollment, as well as the side of trying to restructure debt. And we, in the first, say, 3 months of my tenure, we cut about 15% of the total budget as well. So we were reducing expenses as well.
Yeah. When you first enrolled first-year students and even enrolled them, returning students for the fall and spring this semester, was it known that this was a possibility, that this might happen?
There was no talk of that at that time, no.
No. So the first indication of closing the university was very recently, and then immediately
You would have to talk to the Board of Trustees about when they started that. I can't help you with that.
Did faculty and staff have any prior notice of this decision prior to the school-wide meeting that was held last Thursday?
Of the decision? No, the decision was made literally hours before the meeting.
So right away, the first thing as soon as the decision was made was to hold a school-wide meeting to let faculty, staff, and
Absolutely.
students as well know.
Yeah.
How prior to that decision were you aware that this was this was something that was going to happen?
I was not on that meeting of the board, so I can't tell you that.
Okay. And what is the next step for faculty here at Finlandia? There's been 5, I believe now, teach-out agreements with schools including Northern Michigan University, Michigan Tech, Bay College up here in the Upper Peninsula, as well as some others downstate and around the Midwest. Has there been any discussions as far as agreements for faculty to move to any of these colleges like the students will be?
So we have a number, we're collecting now a number of open positions at all those schools, not just faculty, but staff as well. So, and not just those schools, we're collecting them from all over the country. And there will be a job fair for all faculty and staff, I believe it's the 21st of March. I think that date is right, where we're going to invite representatives from all the area institutions, as well as Portage Health or the hospital and anybody else in town, large employers, to come in and interview our people as well.
How will is there any plans in place for severance pay or other types of payouts for faculty here?
Our intent right now is to fulfill all the obligations that we have to faculty and staff.
Has there been any layoffs or and can you give us any numbers as far as how many will be laid off?
I haven't been authorized to give you that. Eventually, everyone will be laid off, including me. Yeah.
And I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier. You said that there was agreements with another university here in Michigan to maybe create a teaching program or something like that. Was there ever any efforts to merge Finlandia, maybe with Michigan Tech right across the river there in Houghton, or Northern Michigan University, or maybe even somewhere bigger like Michigan State or University of Michigan, make it a satellite campus of a larger university system? Over the course of the last number of years, I know before I got here, that there was a number of years ago, there was talks on that type, and when we approached institutions this time around, none were interested at this time. And right now we're sitting in a building that's over 100 years old. There's a lot of those around Finlandia's campus. What is the plan for buildings such as this one and all the other university buildings we have around Hancock?
It's a good question. The board still has some decisions to make about how they want to dissolve the business entity. And depending on how they decide to dissolve that will determine how the assets are disposed of or in what way.
And was there any decision? We spoke to the city of Hancock. They told us that they had found out at the same time. How are you guys working with the city of Hancock to kind of, maybe unload some of these buildings? Is there any collaboration there with the city and the community?
There is. I wouldn't use the word unload, but the city is already purchasing. We already have a contract on Quincy Green, so that'll maintain green space for the city. The community garden lots we are talking about as well. We've also talked about another property. So, and I have another meeting this week with the city. So, yeah, there's ongoing discussions with the city.
Yeah. So just this morning, it was released that the Finnish American Heritage Center will remain open. It's I believe the largest Finnish. It holds the largest collection of Finnish documents and heritage in North America. Can you talk a little about why that was important to kind of keep places like that alive and keep the tradition of Finlandia here going?
Sure. So, Finlandia University, originally Suomi College, right? Those are both names for Finland. And so this building, this university was built by Finnish immigrants to train Finnish pastors originally, and then to train others in the of Finnish descent. And so we are Finns. And so all those units that we have that are related to our Finnish heritage, the Heritage Center, the Finnish American Reporter, the Folk School, the Art Gallery, the bookstore, those are all things that we want to see continue. Because they leave the lasting legacy of the reason why Finlandia was founded. And so it was really important to me as best I could to find a way to keep those going. And at this point we have some temporary funding in place to keep them going while we negotiate a longer term purchase that will keep them alive and vibrant here in Hancock.
Now, I'll kind of give you the floor here for a minute. Finlandia has a 126-year history. It's been a staple of Hancock. Even just today, we were at a coffee shop before we came over here, and people were talking about how sad they are to see, what has been the staple of this community for over 100 years go. What would you want to say to community members in Hancock or to alumni of Finlandia about the closing of the university?
Yeah, it has been a horrible and heartbreaking time. We have really, the board and the management team and everyone here has really left no stone unturned to try and figure a way to not have to go where we're going now. None of us wanted this. None of us do this because of wanting to do that, to have a place no longer enroll its students. But there comes a time when we have to, first of all, take care of our students and know that if we are continuing on the path we were continuing on, we would have not done right by our students or our employees. And so there comes a time when you have to say that we have to take care of our students and we have to take care of our employees. And the way we do that is by gracefully and in a dignified way unwinding our business operations. And that's really the decision that the board came to, and I think we really need to respect them for that. That is a horrible decision when there are people on the board who have generations worth of connections with Finlandia University. So we have to give them great credit. They made the hard decision and a courageous one. And so what we do now is to really take care of our students, make sure if they're not graduating, they all have a good place to go to where they can finish their education. And then to take care of our faculty and our staff and try and help them find new positions, help them transition as easily as we can. And so that's really now our obligation.
Yeah, so you had mentioned that over 50% of your students here are on Pell Grant. That brings up the question of scholarships, whether it be Pell Grant or federal scholarships or even private donor-funded scholarships. Has there been any plans put in place for the transition of scholarship money from university to university?
So when you do this sort of, they're called teach-out plans with the accreditors. You're not transferring scholarships. What you do is the institutions that you've seen that have signed MOUs that are on our website, they have agreed that a student who goes there will not pay, will generally pay the exact same amount they would pay to go here for their tuition and fees. They also are guaranteed admission as long as they're a student in good standing, and they're also guaranteed that they won't, if they stay in the same program and they continue on their studies like they have been, that it won't take any additional time to finish their degree. So those are all part of the MOUs that we sign with these teach-out institutions.
Mm-hmm. What was your number one priority when you heard about the decision? What was the number one thing that you want to do? What was the first thing on your mind as the president of the university?
How do I take care of the students? First, foremost, and always. I'm a faculty member. I came up through the faculty ranks. So for me, the students are always the most important. It's faculty and staff second.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then finally here, President Pinnow, is there any possibility in the future of Finlandia reopening?
If I don't see it, but that's not, it would take an enormous amount of capital. It would also, we're awfully far down this road. So I have to admit I don't see it. But that's not to say that if there's some group out there that can create a new university or a new Finlandia, a brand new entity, they might be able to start something up. I don't know, but I don't see that as a possibility for the current business.
Yeah. And then I want to jump back. One thing I forgot to do at the beginning when I went to was the press release. Some people found that kind of confusing, that not enrolling students. Can you clarify that Finlandia is closing, the university is closing?
So there's two different steps to this. The first is we're not going to enroll students, right? That's so that everyone knows that there will not be students here next fall. That's so you get that out as quickly as possible. But legally, in order to dissolve the business entity, the nonprofit corporation, there has to be a 10-day notice to the board, and then they have to vote on it. So those 10 days have not elapsed yet. So we cannot say anything more than we're not enrolling students at this point.
So sometime later this week, we should expect an announcement that the university official closing announcement?
I would expect something like that, yeah.
Okay, well, is there anything else you wanted to add that maybe we didn't cover here today?
No, I appreciate your time, and to everyone out there who's been affected by this, we are deeply, deeply sorry. We did not want this in any way, and we are doing our best to take care of our people as best we can.
President Pinnow, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Best of luck to you.
You bet. Thanks.